The annual Westfield Industries corporate gala was exactly as insufferable as I'd expected. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, waiters in white gloves carrying champagne on silver trays. 500 people in designer formalwear networking, drinking, and pretending they enjoyed classical music. I stood near the bar in a rented tuxedo, nursing sparkling water and checking my phone. My executive assistant had texted twice about the Singapore rollout, but it could wait until morning. David. My father's voice boomed across the marble floor. There you are. Come meet someone. I pocketed my phone and walked over. My father stood with 3 men in expensive suits, board members from his company, I assumed. Dad ran a mid-sized pharmaceutical distribution company and loved events like this. Gentlemen, this is my youngest son, David, Dad said, clapping me on the shoulder. He's in IT. Computer stuff. Just IT support, fixing computers or something. The men nodded politely, already losing interest. Actually, I started. David's always been into computers, my mother interrupted, appearing beside us with her practiced social smile. Ever since he was little. We never quite understood it, but everyone needs tech support these days, don't they? She said it apologetically, like she was explaining a mildly embarrassing condition. Absolutely, one of the board members said. My assistant calls IT at least once a week. Can't function without them. That's what David does, Dad confirmed. Keeps computers running. It's good, steady work. How nice, another board member said with the tone people use when they mean the opposite. If you'll excuse us, Richard, we need to discuss the merger before the evening gets away from us. They drifted away, already back to talking business. Dad turned to me. You could have dressed up a bit more, David. This is a formal event. It's a tuxedo, I pointed out. A rented one, Mom said quietly. Your brother wore an Armani tux. You can tell the difference. My older brother Trevor appeared as if summoned. He did indeed look impeccable in what was probably a $5,000 tuxedo, his wife Amanda glittering beside him in diamonds. Mom, Dad, Trevor said, kissing our mother's cheek. Great turnout tonight. I just closed a conversation with the Harriman Group CEO. Might lead to a consulting contract. That's my boy, Dad said proudly. Always working the room. That's how you build a career. Trevor was a senior consultant at a strategy firm, making around $200,000 a year. Our parents acted like he'd cured cancer. Hey David, Trevor said, finally acknowledging me. Still doing the tech support thing? Mom mentioned you might be looking for something more substantial. I'm not looking for anything, I said calmly. It's just you're 34, Trevor said. Most people have advanced beyond help desk by now. Have you considered going back to school? Getting an MBA? Could really help you move up. I have an MBA, I said. From Wharton. And a master's in computer science from Stanford. Oh right, Trevor said dismissively. I forgot you did that. Still, you could be doing so much more with those degrees. Look at me, I leveraged my MBA into a 6-figure career. You could do the same if you applied yourself. I'm fine where I am, I said. My sister Emily joined our circle, champagne in hand. She was a marketing director at a fashion company. Are we talking about David's career again? I keep telling him he should network more. I could introduce him to some people. Entry-level positions, but everyone has to start somewhere. I started 12 years ago, I said quietly. Exactly. Emily said brightly, missing the point entirely. 12 years in IT and still at the same level. That's why you need to branch out. Try something new. Use those degrees. A waiter passed with a tray of champagne. My father took 2 glasses, handing one to my mother. You know what David's problem is? Dad said as if I weren't standing right there. No ambition. He's comfortable doing the bare minimum. Tech support is fine for a kid out of college, but at his age, he should be running an IT department at minimum. I keep telling him to apply to bigger companies, Mom added. Google, Microsoft, those places. They must need tech support. At least it would sound more impressive. I work with Google and Microsoft, I said. Among others. As a vendor? Trevor asked. That's good, Dave. Client relationships are important. Shows initiative. Something like that, I murmured. My phone vibrated. I glanced at the screen. Urgent. Singapore security breach. Need authorization to deploy countermeasures. I typed back quickly, authorized. Deploy Protocol 7. Keep me updated. David, my mother said sharply. Put your phone away. This is a networking event. You should be meeting people, making connections. How do you expect to advance if you're always on that device? Sorry, I said, pocketing it. Amanda, Trevor's wife, leaned in conspiratorially. David, honey, Trevor and I were talking. We could lend you some money if you need it. For a nicer tux next time, or to update your wardrobe for interviews. You need to look the part if you want to move up from support staff. I appreciate that, but I'm fine, I said. Are you though? Emily asked gently. You still live in that small apartment, you drive an old car, you never take vacations. David, if you're struggling financially, we can help. That's what family is for. I lived in a 4,000 square foot penthouse in Tribeca worth $12 million. I drove a Tesla because I liked the technology, though I also owned a Porsche and an Aston Martin in my building's garage. And I'd taken 17 days of vacation in the past 3 months, including a week in the Maldives and a long weekend in Tokyo. But explaining this felt pointless. I'm really okay, I said. Pride, my father said, shaking his head. David's always been too proud to ask for help. Son, there's no shame in accepting that you haven't quite hit your stride yet. You're a late bloomer. Some people are. Very late, Trevor muttered, earning a sharp look from our mother. A woman in an elegant black gown approached our group. She was in her 50s with sharp eyes and an air of authority. Excuse me, she said, looking directly at me. Are you David Morrison? I am, I confirmed. I'm Catherine Wells, event coordinator, she said. There's an urgent situation. Your executive team has been trying to reach you. Something about an emergency board meeting. My family stared at me in confusion. Emergency board meeting? My father repeated. David, what is she talking about? I should take this, I said to Catherine. Where's the call coming in? The event staff has set up a private office for you in the East Wing, Catherine said. Your chief operating officer is on video conference, and your general counsel is standing by. Pi, what now? Emily said faintly. Lead the way, I told Catherine, following her across the ballroom. Behind me, I heard my mother. Did she say his general counsel? That can't be right. The private office was actually the venue's business center, hastily converted for my use. A large screen showed my COO, Sarah Chin, looking stressed. David, thank God, Sarah said when she saw me. We have a situation. TechCore just launched a hostile takeover attempt. They've been buying up shares through shell companies for the past 6 weeks. They just filed with the SEC. They own 23% of the company. I sat down, my mind immediately shifting into crisis mode. How did we miss this? They were careful, Sarah said. Used offshore accounts, multiple intermediaries. Our compliance team flagged some unusual trading patterns last week, but we didn't put it together until an hour ago. Where's the board? I asked. Assembling now via video conference, Sarah said. We need you to authorize a defensive strategy. Legal says we can implement a poison pill, but it has to come from you as CTO and majority shareholder. Do it, I said. Activate the poison pill provision. What's our current share price? $342, Sarah said. TechCore's tender offer is $385. They're betting shareholders will jump at the premium. They're betting wrong, I said. Get our investor relations team on calls to all major shareholders. Remind them of our 5-year growth trajectory. We're not selling. On it, Sarah confirmed. David, the board meeting starts in 10 minutes. You'll need to present the defense strategy. Send me the brief, I said. I'll review it now. The door opened behind me. My entire family had followed, standing in the doorway looking confused. David, my mother said uncertainly. What's going on? I glanced back at them. I need about 10 minutes. Can you wait outside? But, my father started. Please, I said firmly. They retreated and I heard frantic whispering in the hallway. Sarah shared her screen, showing me the takeover documents. I read quickly, analyzing TechCore's strategy. They were playing aggressive, trying to acquire us before we could mount a defense. They'd underestimated how prepared we were. All right, I said after 7 minutes. Here's what we do. Activate the poison pill. Issue a press release within the hour explaining why TechCore's offer undervalues the company. Get our investment bankers to issue a fairness opinion supporting our position. And schedule a shareholder call for tomorrow morning. I'll present our Q4 results early. They're going to be exceptional. How exceptional? Sarah asked. Revenue is up 47% year-over-year, I said. Profit margins increased by 8 points. We just closed the Henderson Enterprise contract worth $340 million annually. Once shareholders see those numbers, they won't sell. Sarah smiled. You're right. That kills their strategy. Also, I added, reach out to TechCore's CEO privately. Let him know we're willing to discuss a partnership, but not an acquisition. We can give them access to our AI infrastructure through a licensing deal. That's what they really want anyway. Smart, Sarah agreed. Give them a win without losing control. Board meeting in 3 minutes, came a voice off screen. I'm ready, I said. Pull the board together. The screen split into multiple windows showing 12 faces. The board of directors for Next Tech Solutions, the company I'd founded 9 years ago. Some were in offices, some at home, one was calling from a car. Good evening, everyone, I said. I know it's late, but we have a situation. As you've all been briefed, TechCore Industries has disclosed a 23% stake in Nextech and launched a hostile takeover attempt. I'm calling this emergency meeting to authorize defensive measures. I presented for 20 minutes, walking through TechCore's strategy, our defensive response, and the alternative partnership approach. The board asked sharp questions. I answered all of them. Finally, our lead independent director, Margaret Sue, spoke up. David, you founded this company at 25. You've grown it from a startup to a $28 billion enterprise. The board has complete confidence in your leadership. We authorize all proposed defensive measures and support your decision not to sell. Thank you, Margaret, I said. All in favor? 12 hands raised in unison. Motion carries, I said. Sarah, execute the plan. I want that press release out in 30 minutes. Board members, please be available for shareholder calls tomorrow. We need a united front. We spent another 15 minutes coordinating details, then adjourned. When the screen went dark, I sat back and took a deep breath. Then I remembered my family was waiting outside. I opened the door. All 5 of them stood there. Mom, Dad, Trevor, Emily, and Amanda. They looked shell-shocked. David, my father said slowly. What was that? A hostile takeover attempt, I said. It's handled. A hostile takeover, Trevor repeated. Of what company? Next Tech Solutions, I said. The company I founded. You founded a company? Emily whispered. 9 years ago, I confirmed. We develop artificial intelligence solutions for enterprise clients. We have about 4,300 employees across 22 countries. My mother sat down heavily in one of the business center chairs. You own a company with 4,300 employees? I'm the founder and chief technology officer, I said. I own 61% of the shares. The rest is held by venture capital firms, employees, and public shareholders. Public shareholders, my father said faintly. You're publicly traded? We IPO'd 3 years ago, I said. Current market cap is around $28 billion. The silence was absolute. Amanda found her voice first. Did you say $28 billion? It fluctuates, I said. It was $26 billion last week. The Henderson contract announcement pushed it higher. Trevor was doing math on his phone. If you own 61% of a $28 billion company, that means you personally are worth about $17 billion, I finished. Give or take depending on the market. My mother made a small noise. But you said you do IT support, Emily said desperately. You said you fix computers. You said I fix computers, I corrected gently. I said I work in technology. There's a difference. Why didn't you correct us? My father demanded. I tried to, I said. Multiple times over the years. You weren't interested in the details. Trevor was scrolling frantically on his phone. There are hundreds of articles about you. Forbes, Fortune, Bloomberg. You're on the Forbes 400. You're one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. The Forbes ranking is outdated, I said. That was based on last year's valuation. Last year's, Trevor stopped, looking at me like he'd never seen me before. David, how did we not know this? You never asked what I actually did, I said simply. You just assumed I was in tech support and stopped listening. My mother was reading on her phone now, tears starting to form. There's an interview here from 2 years ago. You talk about growing up in a family that didn't understand technology. You said you learned early to stop trying to explain your work because people weren't interested. That's true, I said. We weren't interested, she whispered. Oh God, David. We weren't interested. My father pulled up a video on his phone. It was from a tech conference where I'd given a keynote speech to 10,000 people about the future of artificial intelligence. You're famous, he said, watching me command the stage on the small screen. In the tech world, you're actually famous. I prefer to keep a low profile in other contexts, I said. I don't like publicity much. The apartment you live in, Emily said, her voice shaking. Where is it exactly? Tribeca, I said. Franklin Street. She searched the address and went pale. This penthouse sold for $12 million 3 years ago. I paid $11.8 million, I said. Got a good deal because the previous owner needed to sell quickly. Amanda was crying now. I offered to lend you money for a tuxedo. I offered to lend a billionaire money for a tuxedo. You were trying to be kind, I said. I appreciated the gesture. I told you to apply for entry-level positions, Emily sobbed. I said everyone has to start somewhere. You started a $28 billion company. Trevor had found my Wikipedia page. It says here you were featured on the cover of Time magazine as one of the most influential people in technology. That you've been invited to speak at the World Economic Forum 4 times. That you advise 3 governments on AI policy. The government work is mostly pro bono, I said. I think it's important to help shape responsible AI regulation. My father sat down next to my mother. The Armani Tux comment. God, David. I criticized your rented tuxedo. I rented it because I rarely attend formal events, I said. Buying one seemed wasteful. I spent about 2 hours total in this tux. Why would I spend $5,000 on it? Because you can afford it, my father said. Affording something and needing it are different things, I pointed out. My phone buzzed. Sarah again. Press release is out. Initial shareholder response is positive. TechCore's stock dropped 4% on the news that we're fighting back. I think we've got this. I typed back, good work. See you at the shareholder call tomorrow at 9 a.m. Was that about the takeover? Trevor asked. We're managing it, I said. The market is responding well to our defense strategy. TechCore will likely abandon the hostile approach and come to the table for partnership discussions. How can you be so calm? Emily asked. Someone's trying to take over your company. It's not the first time, I said. There were 3 takeover attempts in our first 5 years. You learned to handle them. My mother was reading more articles, clicking through page after page. David, there are profiles about your management style, your innovation philosophy, your thoughts on AI ethics. The tech press calls you a visionary. The tech press is generous, I said. No, my father said firmly. No, David. You don't get to be modest about this. You built a $28 billion company from nothing. You employ thousands of people. You're shaping the future of artificial intelligence. That's not luck. That's not generosity from the press. That's extraordinary achievement. Thank you, I said quietly. Trevor looked up from his phone, his expression a mixture of awe and devastation. I bragged about making $200,000 a year. To a billionaire. I told you to leverage your MBA like I did. You were trying to help, I said. I was being condescending, Trevor corrected. I was acting like I'd figured out career success and you hadn't. Meanwhile, your company's annual revenue is, what? $8.4 billion last fiscal year, I said. We're projecting $11.2 billion this year. Billion, Trevor repeated numbly. Your revenue is greater than most countries' GDP. Emily had moved on to social media. People are tweeting about the TechCore takeover attempt. The whole tech world is watching this. They're calling you a genius for the poison pill strategy. It's a standard defensive measure, I said. David, my mother said, looking up from her phone with tears streaming down her face. Why didn't you make us understand? Why did you let us think you were just tech support? I tried, Mom, I said gently. At Thanksgiving 3 years ago I told you about our Series C funding round. You asked if that meant I got a raise. At Christmas 2 years ago I mentioned we were going public. You said that sounded nice and changed the subject to Trevor's promotion. Last Easter I invited you all to our company's 5th anniversary celebration. No one came. The memories were clearly hitting her. I remember that. You said something about a party for your company. I thought you meant like an office party. Pizza and cake in a break room. It was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, I said. 500 guests including the mayor and 2 senators. We raised $2 million for STEM education that night. My father's hands were shaking. We decided you were unsuccessful and just stopped listening to anything that contradicted that narrative. People do that, I said. It's human nature. You had a certain idea of who I was and information that didn't fit that idea got filtered out. But we're your family, my mother said desperately. We should have known. We should have seen. Amanda was reading my company's website. Your executive team. Your CEO went to Harvard. Your CFO was a partner at Goldman Sachs. Your general counsel clerked for a Supreme Court justice. These are serious, accomplished people. And they all report to you. We have a collaborative leadership structure, I said. But yes, ultimately the major decisions come to me. How many employees did you say? My father asked. About 4,300, I said. Though we're hiring. We have 300 open positions right now. 4,300 families depending on you, my father said softly. 4,300 people who trust you to lead them. That's enormous responsibility. It is, I agreed. That's why I take it seriously. Trevor found a salary database website. It says here the average Nextech employee makes $140,000 a year. That's incredible compensation. We believe in paying well, I said. Happy employees do better work. We also have unlimited vacation, full healthcare, equity compensation, on-site childcare at our major offices, and tuition reimbursement for employees pursuing degrees. You created that culture, my mother said. You built a company that treats people well. I built a company I'd want to work for, I said simply. Emily found a video of our last product launch. There are 50,000 people watching this live stream. You're presenting some kind of new AI system. David, you're not just successful, you're actually changing the world. We're trying to, I said. AI has enormous potential to improve lives. Healthcare diagnosis, climate modeling, education personalization. But it also has risks. We're trying to develop it responsibly. The profiles mention that, my mother said, still reading. They say you're known for ethical AI development. That you've turned down military contracts because you don't want your technology used for weapons. That's true, I confirmed. We could make a lot of money on defense contracts, but it's not aligned with our values. My father looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. You have principles. You've built a massive company, but you have lines you won't cross. Everyone should have lines they won't cross, I said. Catherine Wells appeared in the doorway. Mr. Morrison, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are several journalists outside asking for comment on the TechCore situation. Should I tell them you're unavailable? Please, I said. Direct all media inquiries to our PR team. Of course, Catherine said, then paused. For what it's worth, sir, I think your defensive strategy is brilliant. I have shares in Nextech. I'm glad you're fighting the takeover. After she left, Amanda whispered, the event coordinator owns shares in your company. About 40% of our employees own shares, I said. And thousands of retail investors. We take our responsibility to shareholders seriously. My phone rang. I glanced at it, the CEO of TechCore. I need to take this, I said, answering. David Morrison. David, it's Richard Patel at TechCore, came the voice. I think we need to talk. I agree, I said. Hostile takeovers are expensive and messy. I'd rather discuss partnership opportunities. That's what I was hoping you'd say, Richard said. Your AI infrastructure is the best in the industry. We don't need to own you to benefit from it. Exactly, I said. Let me have my team put together a licensing proposal. We can structure something that works for both companies. I'd appreciate that, Richard said. And David? I'm sorry for the aggressive approach. Your board defense was impressive. You outmaneuvered us completely. No hard feelings, I said. It's just business. I hung up and looked at my family. Crisis averted. They're going to pursue partnership instead of acquisition. You just negotiated that? Trevor asked. In 30 seconds? Sometimes the direct approach is best, I said. TechCore wants access to our technology. We can give them that without selling the company. Everyone wins. My mother stood up and walked over to me. David, I am so sorry. We've treated you like you were unsuccessful for years. We've been condescending and dismissive. And you've been building this incredible company the whole time. It's okay, Mom, I said. It's not okay, she insisted. We should have listened. We should have asked. We should have believed in you. You did believe in me, I said. You just believed a version of me that didn't exist. The real me was working on something you didn't understand, so you filled in the gaps with assumptions. My father joined us. Can you forgive us? There's nothing to forgive, I said. You weren't trying to hurt me. You just didn't see me clearly. Do you see us clearly? Emily asked quietly. Do you think less of us now? I considered the question. I think you're all successful in your own ways. Trevor, you help companies optimize their operations. That matters. Emily, you create marketing campaigns that connect products with people. That's valuable. You're both doing work you're good at. Just because my company is larger doesn't make your work less important. But it kind of does, Trevor said. In terms of scale, impact, financial success. David, you're operating at a completely different level. So, I asked, does that make you a failure? You're happy with your work, aren't you? I thought I was, Trevor admitted. Now I'm questioning everything. Don't, I said firmly. Success isn't a competition. We're not rivals. We're brothers. Brothers where one is a billionaire and the other makes $200,000 a year, Trevor said. Brothers where we both found careers we're good at, I corrected. The money is just a number, Trevor. It doesn't define me. How can you say that? Amanda asked. You're worth $17 billion. And it doesn't make me happier than I was when the company was worth $2 million, I said. The work is what matters. Building something meaningful. Solving problems. Leading a team. The financial success is validation that we're doing something right, but it's not the goal. My mother hugged me tightly. We're so proud of you. I know we should have said that years ago, but we're saying it now. We're so proud. Thank you, I said, hugging her back. The rest of the evening was surreal. Word had spread through the gala that I was the David Morrison of Next Tech Solutions. People who'd ignored me earlier suddenly wanted to talk. Business cards appeared from every direction. My father introduced me to the same board members as before, this time with barely suppressed pride in his voice. This is my son David, he said. He's the founder and CTO of Next Tech Solutions. Perhaps you've heard of it. The board members' eyes widened. The Next Tech? The AI company. That's the one, my father said, beaming. I shook hands and made small talk, but excused myself after 15 minutes. I had a shareholder call to prepare for. In the car heading home, my phone buzzed constantly. Sarah sending updates on the TechCore situation. My CFO with preliminary Q4 numbers. My general counsel with the partnership proposal framework. But there was also a text from Trevor. I'm sorry for being such an ass for so many years. You deserved better from me. From all of us. I typed back. Water under the bridge. Want to grab lunch next week? Actually talk about our lives? Trevor, I'd like that. And David? Thank you for not rubbing this in our faces. You could have. You didn't. Me, you're my brother. Why would I? Emily texted next. Mom's been crying for an hour. Happy tears, she says. She can't believe her son is so successful and she almost missed it. Me, she didn't miss it. He knows now. That's what matters. My father called as I walked into my building. David, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. For all of it. For dismissing you, for not listening, for treating you like you were less than. You're extraordinary, son. You've accomplished things I can't even fully comprehend. Thanks, Dad, I said, stepping into my private elevator. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you keep trying with us? He asked. Why did you keep coming to family events, letting us make those comments, not correcting us? You could have cut us off years ago. I thought about it as the elevator rose to my penthouse. Bez, you're my family. Fodger. But family. And I always hoped that someday you'd actually see me. Really see me. Tonight you finally did. We won't waste that chance, my father promised. We're going to do better. Be better. I know you will, I said. After I hung up, I stood in my living room looking out at the Manhattan skyline. The lights of the city stretched in every direction, thousands of windows in hundreds of buildings, each one representing lives being lived, work being done, dreams being pursued. Somewhere out there, TechCore's team was probably discussing their failed takeover attempt. Our shareholders were reading the press release, feeling confident in their investment. Our employees were sleeping peacefully, knowing their jobs were secure. And my family was finally understanding who I'd been all along. I opened my laptop and started reviewing the shareholder presentation for tomorrow. The Q4 numbers were exceptional. 47% revenue growth, 8-point margin expansion, the Henderson contract. Our shareholders would be thrilled. But more than that, I was proud of what we'd built. A company that did meaningful work, treated people well, and pushed the boundaries of what artificial intelligence could achieve. That pride had nothing to do with my family's validation. Though I had to admit it was nice to finally be seen. My phone buzzed one last time. Sarah, TechCore formally withdrew their takeover bid. They want to start partnership discussions next week. You were right, they just wanted the technology. I smiled and typed back. Schedule the meeting. Let's build something great together. Because at the end of the day, that's what it was all about. Not the money. Not the recognition. Not even the family validation. Just building great things with great people. Everything else was just noise.